Today, I want to share a book with you that is sort of improv, sort of not, but these are all quilts that are inspired by nature. So if you like trees and mountains and vistas, this is a great book for you. Hi, I'm Kim Jamison Hurst of Chatterbox Quilts, and I'm taking a look at modern nature-inspired quilts. Make 25 beautiful projects, no rulers or templates required, and it's by Bernadette Mayer. Now, first thing I want to address is no rulers required, because you actually do need your cutting ruler. What I think she means is that you don't need any special rulers, so you don't need any triangle shapes or hexagon shapes or anything like that. And a lot of the cutting that you're doing, you're using the ruler just to get a straight cut. It's not that you need to make a precise shape, although she does use some of those in her projects, but there is a lot of improv going on in here too. So a really interesting combination in this book. So when she starts off, she has different lessons in the book. So the first lesson is cutting squares. Most of us know how to cut squares, but we're talking about cutting improv squares where they're not an exact, 4-inch square to start with. They're an about 4-inch square, or what I call a 4-inch-ish square, okay? Next one she talks about is two-piece blocks. So cutting things on an angle and putting them together, different fabrics, putting them together. Then she gets into 4-piece blocks, or what we might call a 4-patch, right? So there are different, as I said, lessons. So you'll see them, lesson 1, lesson 2, and then sometimes you'll have projects that use what she's just taught you before she moves on to another lesson. So a little bit different the way this book is laid out, quite interesting and chock full of projects. 25 in one book, that's a lot, right? So let's go through and take a look at some of the projects she has in the book. And the other interesting thing is that there are some illustrations in here, not necessarily photos, illustrations, but then there are photos of the quilts, of course. So it's a combination of diagrams and of the actual quilt project once it's made. But this one here, which is Grand Prismatic Spring, as you can see, is going down in color as well. And as you can see from the diagram, you can see it easier on the diagram than the quilt, I think, because overall the quilt looks like it's made with rectangles, which it is. But if you look at the diagram, you can see that these are these two-piece blocks she was talking about, and they're not cut, they're all cut slightly different as far as the angles on them. But when you put the different colors together and you put the whole quilt together, it reads as made up of rectangles. So you can have a little bit of fun with improv in this, but have a quilt that looks like it's been, if you want to call it, traditionally pieced. Another one here is Quarry Face. Okay, so some of these have applique on them too, so you can see the hang gliders here that she's got over the top of the quarry, but this is all strip piecing, again with an improv technique. So she also uses, in the green areas, you'll see these are some of these 4-patch blocks that she's talked about. So remember I said she has the lessons, then she has the project, so you can kind of see what's happening as we go through these different projects here. So some different looks to these quilts. Got a lot of different ideas in here that I really liked. This one here is Spruce Plantation. I love triangles. These are all, again, these improv triangles, and she shows you how to make those. I guess I must have skipped a lesson, but that's okay. I would go through it if I was doing the book. What's interesting about this particular project is that you've got all these trees here, okay? So it's basically reads as all green, except for the trunks and this little, almost like a zinger in the middle, really. But you've got the large trees, and then you've got the smaller trees. So that variety in scale gives interest to the quilt. And these are great projects in here to use up your fabric scraps as well. Okay, so we did miss a couple lessons, because now we're up to lesson 5, working with strips. Okay, so we're going to be using some strips, going to be cutting some strips and creating different pieces that you can use those. Different projects where you can use those. And she's also talking about curved seams. So these are strips as well, but with a curved seam. So again, with this improv technique, they don't have to be perfect. They'll all be actually a little bit different when you put them together, but she does give you the instructions for how to make them and how to join up curved edges, because as we move forward, there's going to be a project that has these horizontal curved edges. Here we have some more of these angled strips here, slightly different than the previous project. This is Vineyard Terraces. You've got the little houses, and you've got all the vineyards here, as you can see. So lots of, landscape kind of or scenic type quilts in here as well. It's a real combination of different looks in this book and different techniques. It's almost a learning book in some ways, where she's got these different lessons, so you can learn a different technique and then apply it to a project, and then you can take it off and apply it to some of your own designs, right? The other thing in this book too is you can see the quilting that she's doing on these projects, and she will tell you what she has done in there, which I appreciate as well. But simple, very simple free motion quilting in these, so nothing terribly difficult, because you want the quilt and the design to speak rather than the quilting. I just love this one. This is called Wintry Night, here's these these horizontal pieces of fabric, and then there's all these yo-yos on that. Okay, now here you can really see the quilting, right? So again, not terribly difficult designs, but very effective. And when you go over the page to see the instructions on how to make this, she tells you exactly where all these different fabrics are and what she's used for them. Of course, you could change if you wanted to, but it's nice to have that information so you can maybe pick fabrics out of your own stash that are very similar to what she's used if you wish to do that. Again, she talks about the different quilting that she does in these projects. Very, very helpful to give you a starting point. Even if you want to do something a little different, it's nice to have some information that you might want to consider. Then she has these seasonal trees at the back. I love having seasonal projects in the house, so I really liked these. Each tree is slightly different, as you can see, so it's not like she just took a tree and changed the fabrics up in them. And you'll notice that in these ones, in all of them, they have these branches. And so here's another technique that you would learn in this book, is how you will take your different pieces, the background pieces, and you're going to actually make cuts in them to insert other fabric to give you this look. Now, if you didn't want to do that, you could certainly do maybe hand embroidery on there, machine embroidery on there, or use some of your decorative stitches maybe to make those branches. But I thought these were all very interesting with the different 4 seasons. Again, you can see the background stippling and then just the piano keys in the border. Very simple. She's done them all the same, I believe. Let me just see the one. There's one more I missed. No, here it is. Nope, that's not it. Let me go back. I've missed a tree. Oh no, how can that be? Let's go back to this tree. Yeah, so she's done them all the same. So that's kind of nice too. So that kind of joins, if you made the 4 different trees, kind of joins it together that they're all quilted the same way, which is nice. Here's another one where I was talking about adding those branches. This one, Colors of the Fall. This is beautiful, I think. Isn't that gorgeous? This is a big quilt. This is 96.5 inches by 84.5 inches, but you could certainly make it smaller if you wanted to. And so she's showing you how you cut out these rectangles. You're trimming off the corners to give you that leaf or tree kind of look. It reminds me of like a leaf, really. And then you cut them again. And then you're going to be able to insert that fabric to give you those veins, if you will, really, or branches she calls them sometimes, but veins in this particular case, I would say, in the leaves. So really interesting. You can even see here in the sketches here what she's chosen for the quilting. So it's difficult to see the quilting here. She sketched it out for you so you can see what she's doing with the quilting there. Like that. And then you get near the back of the book, you're going to have more lessons because she's going to be telling you how to put the blocks together, right? How do you put the blocks together? How do you add a border? How do you add a binding? Is going to come up next, I'm sure. Oh, assembling the quilt layers first, of course. And then binding a quilt. So you've got all that information in this one book. So I really liked this book. There were some designs that really spoke to me in this particular book. And I think that there's a lot that you can learn from this particular book. It's not what I call a reference book, but there's a lot of different techniques in here. And going through those lessons and then making projects with them before you move on to the next step and learn more is a great learning strategy. So if you want to learn some different techniques, if you like to have nature-inspired quilts in your house, I would recommend you take a look at Modern Nature-Inspired Quilts by Bernadette Mayer. Thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I've chosen just for you. For more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.